I never imagined being denied boarding could lead to an unbelievable fight for justice. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I stood there, heart racing, staring at the flashing screen above me. My flight had been called, and I was ready. But as I approached the gate, my breath caught in my throat. The gate agent's face was a mask of indifference. "You can't board," she said flatly, like I was just another piece of luggage left behind. "Your name isn't on the list." Confusion twisted inside me. I glanced around, the bustling terminal blurring into a dizzying whirl of colors and sound. I could feel the weight of stares from other passengers, fingers pointing, whispers curling around me like smoke. "What do you mean?" I forced the words out, each syllable a plea. My trembling hands gripped my phone, the glowing screen flashing with my confirmed ticket. It seemed unreal. The agent's eyes flashed back to her computer. The smell of fresh coffee wafted around, trying to wrap me in a warm embrace, yet all I felt was icy dread. I couldn't help but think of my parents waiting for me at the other end, their trusting faces filled with excitement. "This isn't happening," I repeated, desperation clawing at my voice. They finally pulled me aside, a security officer appearing like a ghost from behind the walls. The commotion around us faded to an unsettling silence. "You need to come with me," he said, his voice deep and authoritative. Panic seized me. What had I done? All I wanted was to fly home. A million scenarios raced through my head. I imagined dark airports, hidden cameras, and underground dealings. My heart thumped loudly, each beat echoing my dread. I stole glances at the crowd. I wanted someone to vouch for me, to step up and declare that I was innocent. But they kept their distance, faces averted, lost in their own lives, while I slid deeper into the nightmare unfolding. I could feel the sharp edges of fear digging in, the very air around me became thick with anxiety. "Do you have any identification?" the officer barked. I fumbled through my bag, pulling out my wallet with trembling fingers. As I held up my driver's license, the agent's eyes darted over it like it was a rare artifact. "This doesn't match," he said, raising an eyebrow. But it did. Everything about me screamed normal until it didn't. A shadow began to creep into my mind. Was someone out there, plotting against me? It was so strange, so suffocating. What if I had boarded the wrong flight to the wrong place? What if I was meant to vanish? I held my breath, my stomach churning with every heartbeat. Just then, a woman broke through the throng. Her voice rang like a bell, clear and commanding. "What's going on?" she demanded, her intense gaze fixating on me. She wore a blue scarf, someone who looked like she'd seen things. People turned to stare. The silence suffocated me. I wanted to shout my truth. I wanted to tell them all how I was an innocent traveler caught in a maze of chaos. "Help me, please." I thought I shouted, but the words barely broke the surface. And then it hit me. This wasn't just about a flight. This was about justice, about standing up when everything felt lost. I could feel the ground shifting beneath me, the tension thick in the air. My pulse quickened with realization. I would fight. I would expose the truth. But as I steadied myself for the confrontation, the airport's loudspeaker crackled to life, and the chilling words sent shivers through my spine. "We apologize for the inconvenience, passengers. There has been a security breach." The ground lurched beneath me. Everything turned upside down. I was in the eye of a storm. Was I the target? Or just a pawn? As I stood there, paralyzed by fear and uncertainty, I realized this was only the beginning. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference, let's connect. The chaos in the airport escalated around me, the announcement barely registering as I struggled to process my new reality. Security breach. The words echoed in my head, spiraling into a vortex of dread. I felt the grip of panic tighten, but the presence of the woman in the blue scarf grounded me. She stepped forward, determination etched across her face. What exactly is happening? She pressed, her voice a stark contrast to the clamoring voices around us. I opened my mouth to explain, but the weight of my confusion weighed down my words. Instead, I simply looked at her, hoping my eyes could convey the turmoil churning within me. She turned to the security officer. This girl doesn't belong in a situation like this. You need to get her out of here. The fight in her gaze drew the attention of a few nearby passengers, who shifted closer, their collective curiosity igniting an ember of hope in my chest. She can't board. Her name is not on the list, the officer replied with an air of finality, but the woman was undeterred. Then let her call someone. Please. She insisted, and I could hear the tremor in her voice. She has a right to know what's going on. I felt a flicker of gratitude towards this stranger, a balm for the rising anxiety that clawed at me. Fine, he conceded, but his tone remained curt. You have 1 minute. Then we need to escort you to a secure area. He stepped back, allowing me a small sliver of space. I fumbled with my phone, my fingers tingling as I dialed my mother's number. The ringing was deafening in the overwhelming silence that had fallen over the crowd, each ring echoing my desperation. Please pick up, I whispered, my eyes darting back to the blue scarf woman, who watched me intently, her presence a lifeline in this storm. Then, finally, a soft voice broke through. Hello. It was my mother. The relief washed over me like a cool wave, a temporary antidote to the chaos. Mom, I began, my voice trembling as the reality of my situation surged forth. I'm at the airport, and something's gone wrong. They say I can't board. There's been a security breach, and I am scared. The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. Sweetheart, stay calm, my mother urged, her voice steadying me. What do you mean they won't let you board? Just explain to them who you are. That I am trying, but they don't believe me. I don't understand what's happening. I just want to come home. I glanced at the blue scarf woman, and she nodded, encouraging me with every ounce of empathy she exuded. That I am on my way, okay? Stay right where you are. I'll talk to the security manager when I get there, and we'll figure this out together, she assured me. I could hear her gathering her things, the shifting of her feet a source of strength for me. As I hung up the call, time felt like it was suspended. The world moved around me, yet I stood still, a statue of uncertainty. Would my mother arrive in time? Would they let her help me? The fear clawed at my throat, but a small flicker of hope remained. I was not entirely alone in this. I had someone fighting for me. Remember, the woman said softly, her blue scarf slightly fluttering in the breeze of the air conditioning. Not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they just wear courage. Stay strong. You will get through this. Her words wrapped around me like a shield. For the first time since the chaos began, I felt the ground beneath me steady. It was a fragile sense of belonging, but it was enough to push back against the encroaching panic. Then, suddenly, my phone buzzed. An unknown number flashed across the screen. I hesitated, but answered. Hello, a deep, velvety voice responded, sending a shiver down my spine. I have information you need. Meet me at the food court in 10 minutes. Come alone. Who are you? I demanded, but the line went dead. My heart raced as confusion and fear intertwined again. What more could this ordeal throw my way? Are you okay? The woman in blue asked, sensing my change in demeanor. What did they say? Someone just called me. They want to meet. I could hardly breathe, the weight of this new development pressing down like a heavy fog. Don't go alone, she suggested, concern etched into her features. But I could already feel the urgency wash over me. This could be the break I needed, a chance to find out why all of this was happening, but as my eyes roamed the crowd, a new tension settled in. Would this be another trap? Or could it lead me to the answers I so desperately sought? In that moment, with the clock ticking and my fate hanging in the balance, I realized I was standing at the precipice of a truth I hadn't anticipated, one that could change everything, and as I moved to step away and into the unknown, I suddenly caught sight of a familiar figure weaving through the crowd, someone who had long been buried in the depths of my memory, a face I never expected to see again. My breath caught, and a fresh wave of emotion surged through me, the fractured pieces of my life threatening to collide once more. The crowd swirled around me like a tempest, but my focus narrowed onto the figure that approached, navigating through the sea of anxious passengers. The hazy outline sharpened into a familiar face, and for a brief moment, the chaos faded away. It was him, Daniel. My childhood best friend, the boy who had once promised to always be there when the skies turned dark. His appearance was unexpected, an echo from a past I thought I had hidden away. Time had shaped him into a stranger with broad shoulders and an intensity in his eyes that I had never seen before. He looked older, weighed down perhaps by his own battles. My heart quickened. The pressing fear of my situation balled up inside me and transformed into a mix of nostalgia and confusion. Lila. He shouted. The name felt foreign on his lips, yet the way he said it pulled at something deep within me. I took a hesitant step forward, unsure of whether to embrace the warmth of his presence or recoil from the memories it stirred. Daniel. What are you doing here? I stammered, my voice lost amidst the chaos. A multitude of emotions churned within me: grief, longing, uncertainty. I saw the news report about the security breach, he explained, urgency flashing in his eyes. I thought it might be you. I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. There was an intensity in his gaze that felt both comforting and puzzling. But how did you know it was me? Your face, he said softly. They showed a close-up. I recognized you instantly. You always had that fire in your eyes. He stepped closer, and for a moment, I felt as though we were kids again, sharing secrets and dreams under the sprawling oak tree in our neighborhood, yet the crumbling reality around us reminded me that I was trapped in this airport, facing a situation I still couldn't comprehend. I don't know what to do. Someone just called me with I heard. His voice dropped to a whisper, eyes scanning the crowd. You shouldn't go alone, Lila. It's too dangerous. We don't know who that person is or what they want. The gravity of his words settled between us, grounding me in a way that was both unsettling and reassuring. That I clenched my fists, a mix of anger and fear radiating from me. But what if it's the only way to find out what's happening? I need answers. I know you're scared, he said, lowering his voice further as he glanced nervously at the security officer pacing nearby, but rushing in could cost you more than you realize. I'm here now, let me help you. In that moment, I was met not just with an old bond, but with a warmth that felt like a promise. It was unexpected and yet achingly familiar, a reminder of the love and loyalty we once shared. A small fragment of hope flickered within me. Okay, I replied, swallowing hard. But we need to be careful. I have no idea if this is a trap or a chance. I don't want to drag you into something dangerous. Daniel shook his head, determination etched into his features. We're in this together. Always. He reached out, his hand finding mine, and although my heart was still rattling with anxiety, I felt something in me shift. It felt like solidarity, the flicker of hope amidst looming uncertainty. Just then, the blue scarf woman stepped forward, concern painting her face. You don't have to face this alone, Lila. You have us now. A lump formed in my throat as I glanced between Daniel and her. The weight of our collective fear was a palpable force, yet it was comfortingly shared. In a world that felt loose and chaotic, I had found tethering connections, a girl in a blue scarf and a boy who had once been my anchor. That we need to move, I urged as urgency clawed at my insides. If they're waiting for me at the food court, they won't stay forever. As we began to navigate through the throng of people, my mind raced. What awaited me in that chaotic food court? Would it be another puzzle piece in this disturbing picture, or perhaps an even darker revelation? The moment we reached our destination, though, the heart of the bustling food court pulsed with life. Families gathered over meals, laughter and chatter mixed with the even more palpable tension of uncertainty. Amidst the crowd, I saw Thema figure cloaked in shadows, leaning casually against the wall, their features obscured. "Are you ready?" Daniel whispered, his grip on my hand firm and steady. I felt the warmth of his confidence infusing me, but it was met with a wave of insecurity. With a deep breath, I nodded, forcing down the fear rising in my throat. One step forward could reveal answers, but it could also plunge us deeper into an unknown darkness. Just as we approached the shadowy figure, a loud crash echoed through the food court, the shattering of glass erupting from the nearby storefront. Screams pierced the air, and chaos erupted once more. My pulse raced as I turned, unsure of where the threat lay. In the midst of the crowd, the shadowy figure took a swift step backward, melding with the dark, lost in the frenzy. "Go!" Daniel shouted, pulling me back as chaos erupted around us. We ducked, searching for safety, the weight of uncertainty bearing down upon us as the panic surged through the crowd. But in that moment of chaos, just as quickly as the alarm had risen, I caught a glimpse of something, an object glinting briefly under the harsh overhead lights. My heart sank. What if it was the answer to everything I feared? Or worse, would it pull us deeper into peril? With a jolt, I realized I now stood at the brink of a choice, teetering on the edge of a revelation, and whatever lay ahead, we were running out of time. The blaring sirens of distress echoed around me, punctuated by the sharp gasps and frantic shouts spilling from confused onlookers. The glass that had shattered lay in jagged shards like small weapons against the gleaming tile floor of the food court. I felt a surge of adrenaline clash with my instinct to freeze, torn between a desire for safety and a desperate need for answers. "Lila, we have to move," Daniel urged, his grip tightening around my wrist, his voice stern yet laced with concern. "Wait," I replied, my eyes darting to the glimmering object that had caught my vision in the chaos. "The object? What if it's a clue?" My pulse quickened as curiosity battled against caution. It was like a beacon amidst the storm. "Lila, we don't have time." Daniel's urgency sliced through my determination, but there was something primal about the need to understand. What more could I uncover about the threat looming over me? "Just give me a moment," I cried back, as the roar of fear bubbled up around us. That he hesitated, guilt mingling with the fear in his eyes. Perhaps he knew that stubbornness was a trait we shared, one that had defined our childhood adventures and, truth be told, the challenges that had pulled us apart. I broke free from his grasp, weaving through the mass of scattered bodies. The floor was slick with panic and spilled drinks. Each step felt like wading through molasses, every person a barrier to the truth I so desperately sought. The glimmer of the object sparkled defiantly from beneath a nearby table, continually pulling me toward it. "Lila." Daniel's voice rose above the turmoil, frantic but faithful. "Please, don't do this alone." Ignoring the ache in my chest and the tremble in my hands, I reached the table just in time to see a woman, frazzled and wide-eyed, reach for the object too. Our hands brushed, and she pulled back as though I was a ghost. "Please, I need this," I found myself saying, my voice barely a whisper. "What do you mean? Do you know what it is?" She quaked visibly, her eyes flicking towards the chaos around us. "No, but I need to find out." With a combination of fear and resolve, I scooped up the metallic object cold and heavy in my palm. It was a small key. Just then, a deafening crack brought my attention back to the mayhem, as people cried out in alarm. An announcement blared overhead, instructing everyone to evacuate. My heart raced not just with fear but with a stir of something deeper. My mind raced with possibilities. Where could this key lead? What doors might it open, or more frighteningly, what locks did it belong to? "Lila, there's no time." Daniel's voice cut through. He was closer now, weaving through the crowd towards me, his features taut with anxiety. That I realized then that I couldn't go down this path without him. He had risked everything to be here, and the weight of his loyalty pressed across my chest like armor. "Okay, let's get out of here," I consented, clutching the key tightly, feeling its cool edges dig into my palm. As we veered through the chaos, I caught the blue scarf woman offering solace to a child who had lost their parents. Despite the horror unfolding, an unexpected kindness sprouted in that chaotic flowerbed of fear, a reminder of humanity amidst confusion. Do you think we should warn them? I asked as we turned to rejoin the evacuees on the main concourse, the noise dying down just a little, a stillness settling over the once chaotic scene. Amidst the retreating crowd, the spattering sound of footsteps began to soften. About what? Daniel asked, guiding me to a safer corner near a row of vending machines, where the commotion was starting to dwindle. About the key. Could it be part of something bigger? Something they're trying to hide from us? I felt a strange blend of dread and exhilaration. There was a spark of desperation within me, urging me to dig deeper, to uncover a truth that seemed always just out of reach. Daniel steadied my gaze. If this is about your safety, then yes, we should warn them. But we need more information. What if your life's at stake here, Lila? I can't let you face this on your own. His words hung in the air, thick and tense, enveloping us in unspoken fears and unfulfilled promises. In that moment, I saw the urgency in his eyes reflected back at me. But before I could reply, the airport security began to form a perimeter, their presence looming like a wall of tangible authority. My heart sank as I spotted one officer scanning the crowd, their gaze searching for us. It's now or never, I whispered, the key gripped in my fist like a lifeline. Let's stick together, Daniel advised softly, that familiar spark of shared strength igniting. Just as we prepared to push towards the exit, I felt a tap on my shoulder and turned to find the frazzled woman who had reached for the key just moments before. Her face was pale, eyes wide with urgency. You have to listen, she said, trembling. That key you found, it's not just a key. It belongs to something dangerous, something that could ruin lives. My heart raced. I could feel hope and fear wrestling furiously inside as she continued, you have to be careful. Whoever wants it won't stop until they find you. And just like that, the ground shifted beneath us, the walls closing in. My mind reeled beneath the weight of her revelation, the fear crackling around us like electric tension in a storm. I was on the brink of understanding something monumental, but I had no idea just how deep the abyss truly went. Wait, what do you mean? I gasped, grasping her shoulders in urgent disbelief, but she stepped back suddenly, panic crossing her features, as though she feared being caught in the storm we were navigating. Find the others. They'll know. But be careful. And before I could ask her anything further, she was lost again in the tide of retreating bodies, swallowed by the chaos that continued to swirl all around us. Come on, Lila. Daniel urged, nudging me forward as he sensed the urgency, but my heart was racing with new questions. What had I stumbled upon? And more hauntingly, was it possible that a simple key could lead to an unspeakable fight for justice or destruction? Please don't let me lose you again. His anxious whisper broke through my whirlwind of thoughts. With fear and determination fueling my resolve, we stepped forward once more into the unknown, teetering on the precipice of life-altering revelations, a chilling awareness that we were no longer just seeking answers, but diving headfirst into something that could change everything. The chaotic world around me felt like a dream distorting into a nightmare, ever more surreal with every passing second. The confusion in the airport had transformed into a manic storm, and as Daniel and I traversed through the remnants of panic, I could almost feel the weight of unseen eyes upon us, the palpable dread radiating from the people we passed. That woman's warning echoed in my mind, curling its icy fingers around my heart. Who are the others? I murmured, almost too afraid to voice my budding speculation out loud. Could there be more like me? Were there others aware of the truths lurking just beyond reach? Daniel's grip on my shoulder tightened as we hurried through a narrow exit, his breath coming in sharp bursts. Focus on getting out first, he urged, his voice filled with an urgency that bordered on desperation. The momentarily calm atmosphere of the concourse felt like a deceptive lull before yet another storm. He was right, of course I needed to keep my head in the game, or risk losing everything again, but thoughts of that key weighed heavily in my mind, and as the automatic doors slid open to the outside world, bracing us against the chill, I couldn't shake the sensation that the mystery only deepened. The questions unspooled like ribbons, fluttering away from my grasp. As we stepped onto the concrete, gasping for fresh air, I finally released the key from my iron grip. Holding it in the palm of my hand, I marveled at its intricate design. Under the harsh light of a nearby lamppost, I saw the symbol engraved on its surface, an emblem ID never seen before. My fingers traced the contours as my heart raced with a mix of anxiety and resolve. "Everything okay?" Daniel asked, concern etching deeper lines across his forehead. I think this belongs to a place, a person," I said slowly. "It has to. It doesn't just lead to nothing." But the glimmer of hope was overshadowed by an unprecedented fear. What if it led to danger? My mind spiraled with imagined scenarios of shadowy figures and hidden agendas, and I grimaced as I turned my gaze from the key to the darkening roadway. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps broke through the haze of anxiety. Turning, we saw a figure sprinting towards us, cloaked in a dark jacket and a hood that shaded their features. My heart quickened, sharp as a knife, as they screeched to a halt a few feet away from us. "Lila!" They shouted, pulling down the hood to reveal an all-too-familiar face. "Jess. Jess. What are you doing here?" My pulse surged. Jess had been a friend since childhood, someone I had only recently distanced myself from after everything fell apart. In the midst of all this chaos, her presence felt like a warm light cutting through the darkness. "That I came to find you. I heard about the incident. I was worried." She glanced back towards the airport, her eyes wide and frantic. "We have to go, now." "Go where?" I yelled back, the confusion twisting in my gut. "To the safe house. It's not far, but it's crucial that we get there before they intercept us." "Who?" "Intercept us?" Daniel urged, pulling me slightly behind him in a protective stance. "People who are looking for you. The key, Lila. It's part of something much larger than all this." Jess was erratic now, her breaths coming in shallow bursts. A sudden sense of betrayal washed over me. How did she know about the key? How could anyone possibly grasp the implications of a mere object? "What are you talking about, Jess?" "You're scaring me. Please, just trust me. You need to believe me. There are people who can help you." "I swear I wasn't going to involve you in this." She hesitated, glancing around nervously as if the very shadows could betray us. "But it's too late now. You have to come with me." As I exchanged an uncertain glance with Daniel, the noise of sirens pierced through the night. Each wail sounded like a raw reminder of the chaos closing in around us. "Lila, we can't," Daniel replied, voice firm yet strained. "We've got to stick together. We need to think this through." But Jess stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wouldn't have come unless it was necessary. They want the key, and they're willing to do anything to get it. We don't have time, just please listen to me." I could feel it tightening around me, an invisible grip that threatened to sever my ability to choose. A small part of me wanted to run with Jess, to dive headfirst into this new unpredictable journey. But another part warned against it. Had tried confiding in others before, and it had only led to heartbreak and loss. "Lila, think of what this could mean," Jess pressed, sincerity layering her words. "If you don't do something now, the key will fall into the wrong hands. You have a chance to do more than just run. Are you sure we're not running into a trap?" I shot back, my voice edged with uncertainty. She shook her head vehemently, anxiety mingling with desperation. "It's a risk, but I can't let you face this on your own. There are people who care. We've been waiting for someone like you." It felt as though the earth was shifting beneath me, pulling me in two different directions. I could still hear Daniel's voice behind me, steady and steadfast, pleading for me to stay. "Lila, please," he implored, fear tightening his throat. But before I could respond, a chill crept up my spine as I turned to catch sight of figures emerging from the shadows of the airport entrance, their silhouettes menacingly outlined against the flickering lights. "They found us," Jess hissed, panic flooding her features. "We need to go now." The world around me zoomed in and out of focus, but the one thing that stood clear was the key still firmly gripped in my palm. The weight of its implications began to settle heavily on my heart, the stakes higher than anything I ever could have fathomed. With an anguished look, I glanced at Daniel and then back at Jess, forced to face the inevitable decision that loomed over us. The choice would determine not just our fate, but potentially many others. As Jess ducked slightly, preparing to bolt into the night, I felt time stretch with a tender cruelty, each heartbeat echoing like a drumroll toward one destiny or another. Then, an unexpected voice rang out through the chaos, "Lila. Stop." The penetrating command made my heart stop, and my breath caught in my throat. I turned just in time to see a figure emerge from the shadows, a person I never expected to see, one who would change everything again. "David," I breathed, disbelief and dread knotting in my stomach as I took a step forward. "What are you doing here?" His expression was rigid, determination etched across every feature. But beneath that, shadows of regret loomed, and I knew then that whatever he had to say would crack open a past I wasn't prepared to face again. I was being pulled in every direction, suspended on a knife's edge, moments away from an explosive confrontation that could alter everything. And as I stood there, the weight of the choices before me seemed insurmountable, threatening to consume the remnants of my heart. The cold wind bit at my skin, sending prickles of fear through me as I stood there, caught between the urgency of fleeing with Jess and the shadow of David reappearing in my life. It felt absurd, being pressed from all sides by the weight of revelations, both new and painfully old. "Lila, you have to listen to me, please." David's voice cut through the tumult, sharp as a knife. Each word felt like a jab, pushing me just a little closer to a decision that hung in the air like a guillotine. "What do you want, David?" I demanded, my voice steadier than I felt. "You just reappear after everything, expecting me to trust you." He stepped forward, hands raised in a pleading gesture, as if he could block the decisions whirling around us with sheer body language. "I know you're scared, but you need to understand. They're coming for you, for the key, and they won't stop until they get it. You can't let Jess take you into whatever trap they've set." Jess' eyes darted from David to me, her anxiety mounting with every tick of the clock echoing through our frenzy. "You're lying, David. This is about Lila, not you, no." He shot back, turning the full weight of his gaze onto me, desperation mingling with sincerity. "You have to trust me. I'm here to help you, Lila, not hurt you. We can't let them find you." The ambiguity of his intent was a nettle in my mind. I recalled the past, the laughter, the dreams we once shared, and then the harrowing silence of shattered trust. In this moment of chaos, was David my savior, or merely the harbinger of more darkness? "Lila, think of what Jess said," David pressed, his voice softening. "You have a chance to uncover the truth, your truth. But if you leave with her, you may never know. They've been watching, waiting. Watching." My heart began to race again, the suffocating dread creeping back into my chest. Could this really be true? Were they shadowing my every move? A horn blared in the distance, cutting through my thoughts, a warped reminder of the urgency at hand. Still, the seeds of doubt planted by David's words lingered, taking root among my swirling fears, but before I could deliberate further, Jess suddenly pulled me closer, her voice a frantic whisper. "Lila, don't listen to him. He's lying through his teeth. We don't have time for this, please." The sirens grew louder, closer, and it felt like the ground beneath us was splitting open, leaving me balancing precariously on the edge of an abyss. "Your heart knows who to trust," David implored, the rawness in his expression feeling almost palpable. "You're not just some pawn in their game. There's power within you. You might be the key to changing everything. But what if that power turned out to be a curse? What if it wasn't mine to wield at all?" I felt trapped between whispers of betrayal and the fierce pull of loyalty, each threatening to fracture me further. Suddenly, the figures I had spotted earlier surged forward, cutting through the darkness like shadows come to life. My instinct kicked in. "We need to go," I shouted, torn between my past and an uncertain future. I turned to Daniel, who stood resolute, ready to fight if necessary. The connection between us felt like a lifeline, but deep down, I knew the tumultuous bond was being tested profoundly. "Stay close," I ordered, my heart moving to the beat of survival. As Jess and I bolted through the crushing darkness, David's voice echoed behind us, filled with a sense of urgency that felt genuine. "Lila. You're stronger than you know. Don't forget, find your truth." The chaos swirled in on itself, shadows reaching out, trying to grasp the remnants of what once defined my life. I felt time slipping through my fingers like sand, each swift grain echoing with memories of yesterday, David's laughter, Jess' unwavering friendship, and the ominous key that had brought us together. Running through the streets, the frigid air stung my cheeks, each gasp fueling a wild determination. We darted into an alley, desperate for cover, my heart hammering like a frantic drummer. Jess paused, breathing heavily. "The safe house is just around the corner. Trust me, it's our only hope." It? I countered, emotions surging like turbulent waves. I shot a glance at Daniel, who seemed unable to comprehend the depths of what was at stake. "Are you sure it isn't just another part of their game?" She squared her shoulders, a fierce resolve igniting behind her wide, frightened eyes. "I'd never put you in harm's way. You know me. We've been friends forever." Those words struck deep, anchoring me momentarily amidst the tempest of uncertainty. It was Jess, who had stood by me through my darkest moments, who had seen me through the age wasn't that worth something. Before I could answer, though, a realization dawned upon me, heavy and ominous: the key. I glanced at it in my palm, remembering David's words. My past and future collided. This key could unlock not just doors but the truths that lay buried under layers of deception. "First, we need to find a safe spot to regroup," I said resolutely, nothing but shadows around me. "Whatever happens, we stay together." Just as determination surged within me, the sounds of footsteps echoed down the alley, heavier now, and I braced myself for whatever lay in wait. The shadows shifted once again, to confront, to protect, or to destroy. There, at the end of the alley, stood a figure with an expression I barely recognized, illuminated beneath a flickering street lamp. As the light unveiled their identity, a wave of shock reverberated through my spine. "Lila, I'm here," the figure called, stepping forward with both certainty and regret. My breath caught in my throat, the world tilting wildly once more. It was someone I thought I would never see again, someone who could change everything yet again. The figure stepped into the light, and the realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Alex. My heart raced as I struggled to reconcile the emotions swirling within me. Here stood the person I had buried beneath layers of anger and hurt, the one who had once walked away, leaving me in a cloud of confusion and resentment. "Alex," I whispered, disbelief spilling into the air like thick fog. "What are you doing here?" "I'm trying to help you," he replied, his voice steady yet laced with underlying urgency. "I know you think you what? That you can just stroll back into my life like this after everything?" My voice rose, struck by the memories of betrayal and the sense of abandonment that had scarred my soul. "You have no idea what's been happening. Trust me, I know more than you think," he interjected, eyes darting to the entrance of the alley, the sirens drawing closer. "But right now, we don't have time for that. Jess is right. We have to move." Behind me, I felt Jess' grip tighten on my arm. "What do you mean, you know more?" she snapped, suspicion edging her tone. Alex took a step forward, his expression holding a gravity that was in sharp contrast to the whispering winds around us. "I've been tracking them, those people after you. They're dangerous, and they won't stop until they find the key." I clutched the small, ornate object between my fingers as though it were an anchor against the storm threatening to swallow me whole. "So I'm just supposed to trust you now? You, of all people?" The tremor in my voice betrayed my guarded heart. "I know I don't deserve your trust, Lila, but I wish I could say how much I regret," he began, his sincerity cutting deeper than any blade. "Regret? Regret doesn't change what happened." I shot back, frustration mingling with the fear pooling in my chest. "I can't just forget." Suddenly, the clatter of footsteps echoed ominously, interrupting our spiraling tempers. "We can fight about our feelings later," Jess urged, her voice quaking slightly. Right now, we need a plan, or we'll all be caught in this mess. The door to the alley creaked open, an invitation to the unknown. We have to go now. Alex insisted, glancing over his shoulder. They're closing in.as if the night were conspiring against us. The shadows began to stretch, coiling around the three of us, squeezing out the fleeting warmth of hope. Jess' eyes turned pleading as she looked between Alex and me, still unsure if this alliance could be forged or if we would be dashed apart by shards of history. That I took a deep breath, refocusing on the situation rather than my hurt. Where are we going? Follow me, Alex said, taking a risk, his arm reaching out to guide us. His touch felt hesitant, like the bridge between two broken worlds. There's a place nearby where we can hide, regroup, and figure out our next move. That I hesitated, but the urgency of our circumstances pushed me forward. I could see the determination in Jess' eyes. Even in our turmoil, she trusted me implicitly. I nodded, a shivery resolve settling over me. Fine. But if anything feels off, then we'll figure it out together, Alex interrupted, his sincerity resonating deeper now, almost a whisper against my doubts. Together, we navigated the labyrinth of streets, the cold air wrapping around us like a shroud, heavy with shared memories and unspoken words. But with every hurried step, I felt a fragile connection rekindling, as if the embers of our past were still warm beneath the ashes. Suddenly, a blaring horn interrupted the tension, a chorus of chaos erupting just ahead. Lila! Jess gasped, pulling me back as a pair of headlights blazed through the dark. What is that? I squinted into the light, my heart racing as the vehicle skidded to a halt. My mind instinctively reached for every possibility: ambush, rescue, anything, but nothing seemed to fit. Then, the figures emerged. My breath caught at the sight of them as my heart surged, a desperate hope flickering in my chest. Lila! We've been looking for you. One of the figures shouted, the familiar voice breaking through the overwhelming noise of the city, stirring a whirlwind of emotions I thought was long buried. Sam! I whispered, disbelief lacing my words. He was here. How could he be here? My brother, the very person who I thought was lost to me forever. In that whirlwind moment of clarity, I was swept back not just into my past, but into the complexities of family, trust, and sacrifice. Everything I had believed was at risk of unraveling with questions that burned in my mind, waiting to be unleashed. What's going on? Alex asked, his tension palpable. They're involved, yes, but you don't understand, I started, disbelief colliding with urgency as Sam rushed toward me. Lila! There's so much we need to explain. He yelled, but as he reached for me, a flicker of danger flashed in his eyes, one I hadn't noticed before. Two don't know who to trust. I stammered, panic flooding my veins, as the competing loyalties clawed for dominance within me. Suddenly, the distinct sound of footsteps echoed ominously. Aga, and it was too late. With terror clutching my heart, I turned, a sudden sense of dread overwhelming me. They were here, and the truth I so desperately sought was about to collide violently with my reality. All at once, shadows leaped between us, a wave crashing into our fragile gathering, spiraling into chaos. A piercing voice rang out, cutting through the tension like glass. Lila! You're coming with us. Everything that had been building, every relationship, every secret and lie hung by a thread as the truth stood poised to unravel them all. Would I be able to find my way through the storm, or would I become lost in the very darkness I was trying to escape? The chaos swirled around me like a hurricane, the sirens of the night blending into a cacophony that nearly drowned out the thudding of my heart. Sam's eyes locked onto mine, a mix of urgency and something unrecognizable flickering just behind them. Lila, we have to go. I could barely process the fear etched across his face, nor the sudden shift as two shadows stepped out from the darkness, flanking Sam with malicious grins. You're not going anywhere, one of them sneered, slick-haired and predatory, as if this situation were some twisted game to him. Get back! Jess shouted, instinctively positioning herself in front of me, her defiance blazing bright despite the odds. I felt the spark of her bravery ignite a flicker of hope within me. Stop! Alex's voice sliced through the tension, vehement and desperate. You don't want to do this. don't we?" The second assailant taunted, crossing his arms, eyes narrowing. "We have what we came for. And that's you, Lila. I'm not going with you." My own voice faltered, empowered by the rally of support but trembling under the weight of fear. Every nerve screamed at me to escape, yet something held me anchored. "Lila, listen," Sam's voice cut through my disordered thoughts, his expression softening for a heartbeat. "You don't understand. I'm here to protect you. They're not who you think they are." In that moment, every choice pressed down upon me, whether to trust him, to run alongside Jess and Alex, or to remain rooted in whatever truth was just out of reach. Confusion mingled with betrayal, and I struggled with the weight of his words. Could he truly be here to protect me, or was this yet another trap, another layer in the tangled web of deceit I was ensnared in? A brutal shove from one of the assailants disrupted my spiral of thoughts as they lunged forward. Before I could process the movement, Jess moved faster than I had ever seen, pushing me aside with a fierce determination. "Get behind me, Jess!" I cried out, alarm coursing through me, but her gaze was already fixed on the approaching danger. Go. She barked, unyielding as she confronted them. Determination burned in her eyes, a fire sparking anew, awakening the fighter I knew was buried deep within. "Don't you dare!" One of the attackers lunged, but before he could grab her, she sidestepped fluidly. The swift movement sent him crashing into the wall, but the second rushed in, fists swinging with unrestrained fury. That I stood paralyzed, a maelstrom of emotions churning within: fear for Jess, fury for the threats she faced, and a profound sense of loss for the connection I yearned to understand with Sam. The chaos unfurled like in a tragic play, with Jess heroically holding her ground against the odds stacked against us. However, as fists flew and bodies collided, a voice rang out distinctly above the commotion. "Lila!" The shout echoed, slicing through the darkness, a beacon amidst the turmoil. It was my father. "Lila, stay where you are." But I couldn't just stand there. My heart raced as confusion, relief, and indignation collided within me. "Dad?" My voice betrayed me, shaky and uncertain. Was he here to help or harm? I met his gaze, desperation swimming in those familiar eyes. I had yearned for clarity, for the comfort of knowing I could trust him. But had he mended the bridges between us, or had they only been painted over? Suddenly, a crash against a dumpster reverberated, shattering the momentary murmur of air in my lungs. I rushed to Jess's side, grabbing her arm as we edged toward Alex, feeling the raw sense of vulnerability lacing our fight. "We need to go." But as we maneuvered away from danger, I stole a glance back at Sam, whose expression locked onto mine, desperate, aching for trust. "You have to believe me, Lila. I'm not what they want." Before I could respond, the pressure of a clenched fist pulled me back as one of the attackers regained his footing. "You're coming with us," he growled, determination twisting his features. No. I shouted, panic lacing my voice as everything slipped from my fingers, a reckless dance of desperation and rage. And then reality fractured as my father advanced, desperation fueling every movement. "Let her go." He charged at the attacker, the air thick with tension as the world around me spun off balance. As the two collided, the force sent shockwaves through my body, breaking the fragile tether that held my terror at bay. In a heartbeat, everything I had fought for teetered on the edge of collapse. My father, my brother, Alex, they were all caught in this storm, and I was powerless to navigate through it alone. Everything became one great blur as the cries of the night echoed. "No!" I screamed, as the flashing lights of approaching sirens turned the dark alleyway into a twisted tapestry of a moment I wished to rewrite, forever etched in time. "Lila." My father's voice broke through the haze as fear crashed over me like a tide. The danger coiled tighter around my heart, waiting to reveal the truth I had sought with every question, with every doubt, all while standing on the precipice of the unknown as my saga continued to unravel, yet tantalizingly out of reach. The outline of the alley blurred under the explosive flashes of police lights, a dizzying world caught between reality and chaos. I could feel the weight of every moment pushing down on me, every breath a reminder of the danger constricting around us. Sam was still in my line of sight, his face a mixture of determination and anguish, and my father was grappling with the assailant, each moment stretching into an eternity, punctuated by grunts and labored breaths. "Lila!" Jess shouted, her voice breaking through my paralysis, urgency tinged with a fierce protectiveness. "We need to go now," but the chaos held me hostage, and I felt like a helpless spectator. I darted a glance back at my father and Sam, caught in a fray that felt surreal, as if pulled from some dreadful nightmare. Each punch that landed echoed in my chest, a visceral panic clawing at my heart. The fear of losing them drew me closer to the brink of desperation. Suddenly, I felt a tug on my arm. Alex, with his eyes bright and frantic, was pulling me towards the street, away from danger. "Come on." "No. I can't leave them." My voice quaked, torn between the instinct to run and the loyalty that anchored me. A treacherous tear slipped down my cheek as I watched my father, fighting tooth and nail against a shadow of his former self, desperately clawing for the father I once knew, but as we turned to run, a piercing scream shattered the air. It was Jess. I whipped around just in time to see her stumble, the second assailant now wrestling her to the ground. Her fierce defiance had diminished in an instant, replaced by fight-or-flight rawness. "Lila! Help, Jess!" Every part of me screamed to run back, to fight alongside her, but the instinct to flee battled fiercely within my chest. "Lila, we have to go," Alex urged, his grip tight on my wrist. "We can't help her if we don't escape." As I wrestled with the decision, a small flicker of hope ignited once more. Suddenly, an unexpected force rushed past USA figure darting into the fray, plunging fearlessly into the chaos. It was Sam, moving like a guardian angel, a solitary beacon in the dark abyss. My heart soared with a reverberation of strength, urging me to trust him against the storm. "Jess! Hold on!" he shouted, and I could see the resolve etched into his features, the knowledge that even with the odds stacked against him, he wouldn't abandon anyone. Time stretched, the world ambushed by uncertainty as I felt the pull of my own heartache, bound by unanswerable questions. Was Sam truly with us? And my father, was he fighting to protect, or enmeshing us deeper in peril? "Lila!" I felt Alex's urgency once more. Now, as if struck by a flash of clarity, I nodded, every ounce of fear sharpening into purpose. I needed to do something. The alley brimming with danger wasn't the end, it could be a beginning too. With a swift motion, I broke free from Alex's grasp and hurled myself back into the tumult of the fight. The faces of the attackers were obscured by the chaos, but I zeroed in on Jess, who was grappling desperately. Every word, every shared moment with her reaffirmed the bond we held, and I couldn't ignore my calling, "Get off her!" I screamed, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I hurled myself toward the assailant, heart pounding like a war drum. Instinct took over, punch after punch thrown with reckless determination. I felt the heat of fury fuel my every movement, igniting something deep within, a fire of past vulnerabilities transformed into steadfast resolve. Before long, the struggle drew the attention of those around us, and Sam, fiercely focused, threw his body in the line of fire, redirecting the assailant's focus. "Lila, get Jess out of here!" he yelled, strength and urgency woven into every syllable. The air crackled thick with anticipation as we formed an unlikely unit, Sam and I, bound by newfound determination and unrelenting courage, battling not just the shadows that assailed us, but the doubts that had lingered. "Jess!" I shouted, desperately seeking her gaze, while the scuffle around us heated into a frenzy. In that charged moment, my perception shifted, the urgency to protect each other surged with a force barely contained. The chaos was disrupted again, this time by the shrill screams of sirens, the flashing lights brighter than any hope I could convey. "Help is coming!" I cried, but the impending sense of dread clung tighter. We weren't out yet, not with danger still lurking. That I can't leave her. Sam wrestled momentarily with the decision, eyes darting between me and Jess, shimmering with unyielding determination, and then, with a sudden, jarring reality, Jess screamed again, more blood-curdling than before. The attacker had shifted focus, she was pinned almost violently, and in that split second, everything truncated into terror. "Jess!" I cried, but as I surged forward, the world fell into brutal silence. My father lay on the ground, gasping and clambering against the unyielding pavement, every bit of fight fading. Fear pounded at my chest as the urgency shifted again. Was this the moment where too much had been sacrificed, Lila? Sam's voice was there, but it felt obscured, softened under the weight of the world crashing around us, and then I saw a glimmer of light piercing through the chaos. A revelation. You don't understand. My father wheezed, eyes wild and pleading, they've been sent for you. The word struck me like a thunderclap, unraveling two different worlds as the revelation sent tremors through my being. The fight for our lives had merely begun, teetering on the edge of birthright and betrayal, truth and despair, veering ever closer to an unimaginable destiny. My heart raced as my father's words echoed in my mind, each pulse quickening as I wrestled with the implications. They had come for me. A rush of raw emotions swirled within, tangled with confusion, anger, and despair. Everything that had happened, the denial at the airport, the frantic chase, the shadows lurking in the corners, was all leading to this moment. It was no longer just a fight for survival, it had become a confrontation with the very core of my identity, Lila. Jess screamed, struggling against the grip of the assailant pressing her down. It snapped me back to the present. Right now, we were losing everything, every strand of connection, cut by the impending danger surrounding us. Trust me. I choked out, the urgency rising like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. We're getting out together. I lunged forward, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I fought against the very fear that had tried to consume me for too long. Sam was locked in a struggle with one of the attackers, and I knew this was our moment. Get her out. Help her. I shouted to him, my heart pounding a desperate rhythm. He hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his features, but then nodded resolutely. We are leaving together. He rushed towards Jess, allowing the raw energy of the moment to push him forward. As he reached for her, I prepared to join the fray, to push back against whatever was stacked against us, but it was David's voice that broke through, cutting through the chaos like a searing sword. Lila, you have to listen to me. The key, he shouted, the urgency of his tone peeling back layers of fear to reveal the complexities of our shared past intertwined with perilous stakes. It holds more power than you can imagine. You're not just a pawn. I looked at him, gasping for understanding while doubt clawed at my chest, but there was a fire in his eyes that felt unnervingly familiar. It spoke to the connection we once shared, the bond that hinted at a deeper story. What do you mean? I shouted back, stumbling through the confusion as I pulled Jess up from where she had fallen, drawing her body against mine as I fought to give her strength. You were chosen, Lila. The key can unlock not just doors but truths we never explored. We can use it. His voice was filled with genuine desperation, revealing the layers of sacrifices he seemed to be alluding to. But we need to act fast. The attackers focused on Jess and Sam, creating a barrier against my will to advance, but I could feel the weight of the key pressing against my palm like a blistering invitation to alter the course of fate. Were they telling the truth? Was I really the linchpin in this twisted game? Lila. We don't have time. My father's voice wrenched me from spiraling thoughts. His urgency kindled a loyalty I couldn't shake, a visceral longing to make sense of the terrible mess we were caught in. They're going to hurt you, and we can't allow it. You're stronger than you know. With one powerful gaze at Jess and Sam, who were battling for their lives against the malevolence pressing down around us, I felt its swelling river of fortitude coursing through me. This wasn't just about revenge or survival, it was affirmation of the love and loyalty tangled beneath this turmoil, together. I shouted, throwing off the remnants of fear like a heavy cloak, rushing to my father's side and clasping his hand as determination surged through my veins. Whatever happens next, we confront it together. All shadows were now intertwined in a single thundering heartbeat. My resolve ignited and surged forward, pulling Jess, Sam, and Alex along with me as I stepped into the fray. We're in this for each other, for everything this is. The only way out is through. The words spilled from me like a charhe, a call to arms amidst the storm enveloping us. What are you talking about? Jess gasped, breathless but fierce as I intertwined my strength with hers. The key. I screamed, raising it high, the light shimmering against the darkness. Internal courage bloomed like wildflowers smashing through the surface of concrete. It holds the truth we need. Everything seemed to halt as all eyes turned toward the key, the air growing thick with the electricity of revelation and doubt. "Lila, don't!" Sam warned, a righteous fear ripping through his tone, but it was too late. We were enveloped in a spark of unity. "This is it!" I screamed, feeling the weight of our shared connection resonate like a powerful anthem, everything surging back from the darkness, recharged with purpose. And just like that, time unfurled in slow motion as I pressed the cold metal against the encroaching darkness, wielding it like a weapon. A blinding flash erupted, illuminating the alley. The silhouettes of our attackers became smeared against the unfurling wall of light, their faces twisted in disbelief and fear, just before the rush of power surged out in a wave that shook the ground beneath us. I felt their grip dissipate, the shadows banished by the light that poured from the Kia force of everything we had fought for and everything we had yet to embrace. The energy enveloped us in an electrifying heartbeat that pulsed like a second chance, a pivot point where chaos and clarity collided. I turned to see a raw, new realization wash over my friends' and family's faces, igniting hope in a battle that felt insurmountable. In that moment, I grasped the intertwined fate of every story we had lived and fought through together. "We are not going to let fear be our end," I roared, emboldened by the unity coiling around us. Jess and Sam surged forward alongside me, hands clasped together as we stood shoulder to shoulder against the menacing tide that had threatened to drown us. Rooted in that connection, I felt the deep resonance of truth wash over me, revealing a path to forging my destiny that wasn't simply about fighting this shadow that sought to overwhelm us, but an opportunity to unlock the stories buried deep within our fractured pasts. Together, we chanted, the cadence powerfully echoing like a battle cry among the chaos and darkness. The fight for justice began not just externally, but internally too. Every challenge we faced was a reflection of the scars we bore, entwined with the journeys that had shaped us into who we were becoming. Finally, united, we turned to face the unfolding future, knowing whatever came next would be a beautiful testament to the resilience and strength we shared. Together, we would illuminate the world around us, rewriting our stories with every step towards redemption. And in a world that had once seemed lost, we let the light guide us into unimaginable new beginnings, and in that powerful clarity, we emerged stronger, overcoming the storm that had once threatened to tear us apart. With every heartbeat fueled by love and solidarity, we moved forward through the dawn, ready to reclaim our lives in relentless hope, finally free to forge our destinies anew.